I mean, frankly speaking, only Vladimir Putin can answer the question is why he does anything. It's, I think, he knows that he's in a period of trying to shape impressions in the lead up to what could be a momentous meeting with Donald Trump, and that Donald Trump's perceptions are derived from I don't want to call it superficial, but more immediate sources. That Donald Trump's more likely to be swayed by short statements that can be broken into video clips and shared on social media than he is substantive policy papers. And so I think, Putin is seeking different ways to influence Donald Trump. He's made several statements to the media, to press, and he, is engaged in this sort of indirect communication, speaking to a Western population, but knowing that the true audience is Donald Trump.
What is Putin really up to in this high-stakes game of political chess? With a possible meeting with Donald Trump on the horizon, is there more than meets the eye? The stakes couldn't be higher, and the tactics are anything but conventional. Scott Ritter suggests that Putin's actions are carefully calculated to shape perceptions, especially when it comes to influencing Donald Trump. Rather than relying on complex policy discussions, Putin seems to be targeting Trump with simpler, media-friendly messages that can easily be consumed and shared, tapping into the nature of social media and viral content. As we've just analyzed Scott Ritter's perspective on the ongoing geopolitical landscape, it becomes clear that the war in Ukraine is not just a local conflict, but part of a much larger struggle, one that echoes the Cold War era. The involvement of major powers, the constant shifts on the battlefield, and the strategic significance of supply lines all contribute to what many are calling Cold War II. Now, let's shift our focus to one of the most intense battlegrounds, Pokrovsk, where U.S. military supplies are making a major impact on the fighting. The renewed deliveries of Western aid and the evolving tactics on the ground are shaping the future of this war, and we are witnessing a dramatic escalation in hostilities. The battlefield near Pokrovsk has become a focal point of the ongoing war in Ukraine. This region, situated along the contested front lines, has seen an influx of advanced weaponry, particularly from the United States. The resumption of Western military aid has played a pivotal role in enabling Ukrainian forces to resist Russian advances, while simultaneously intensifying the overall scale of combat. With both sides escalating their operations, Pokrovsk is emerging as a critical site in this new phase of the war. Pokrovsk, located in the Donetsk region, is a key logistical hub for Ukrainian forces. The city serves as a vital supply point, enabling the movement of troops, ammunition, and equipment to the front lines. Russia has long sought to capture it due to its strategic position along key transportation routes. If Russian forces were to seize Pokrovsk, they would significantly disrupt Ukraine's defensive lines and gain a foothold to push deeper into Ukrainian-controlled territory. Conversely, Ukraine's ability to hold this position depends heavily on a steady flow of Western supplies, particularly long-range artillery, precision-guided missiles, and armored vehicles. The recent surge in military aid from the United States and NATO has bolstered Ukrainian defenses, allowing them to launch counterattacks and inflict heavy losses on Russian forces. Resumption of U.S. military supplies and its impact. Recent months have seen a renewed push from the West to supply Ukraine with the necessary firepower to sustain its defense. The latest aid package includes advanced artillery systems, HIMARS rocket launchers, and increased deliveries of 155mm shells. These weapons have already proven highly effective in previous engagements, allowing Ukraine to target Russian supply depots, command centers, and troop concentrations with precision strikes. Additionally, the United States has ramped up the supply of drones and air defense systems to counter the growing threat of Russian missile and drone attacks. With the battlefield increasingly dominated by aerial warfare, Ukraine's ability to neutralize incoming threats is critical to maintaining its defensive lines. One of the most significant contributions has been the delivery of long-range missiles, which have enabled Ukraine to strike deeper into Russian-controlled territory. These missiles have been used effectively to destroy key infrastructure, including bridges and railway lines that Russia relies on for resupply. The impact of these strikes has forced Russian forces to reconsider their logistical routes, slowing down their offensive operations near Pokrovsk. With the resumption of heavy fighting, Pokrovsk has witnessed some of the most intense battles since the war began. Russian forces have launched relentless assaults in an attempt to break through Ukrainian defenses. However, Ukrainian troops, fortified by Western weapons and strategic countermeasures, have successfully repelled many of these attacks. Reports indicate that Russia is employing large-scale infantry assaults, supported by artillery and airstrikes, to gain ground. Despite suffering significant casualties, Russian forces continue to press forward, hoping to overwhelm Ukrainian positions. However, the effectiveness of U.S.-supplied precision weapons has turned the tide in many engagements, allowing Ukraine to hold its ground and even reclaim lost territory in certain areas. In recent weeks, Ukrainian forces have launched counteroffensives to push Russian troops back from key positions near Pokrovsk. These operations have involved coordinated strikes against Russian artillery positions, command centers, and supply convoys. The use of Western-supplied cluster munitions has further degraded Russian fortifications, making it increasingly difficult for them to sustain their advances. The current fighting near Pokrovsk is also being influenced by weather conditions. The onset of winter has made large-scale maneuvers more challenging for both sides. Muddy and frozen terrain has restricted vehicle movements, forcing troops to rely more heavily on fortified positions and aerial reconnaissance. For Ukraine, the winter months present an opportunity to capitalize on their defensive advantages. With improved drone capabilities and long-range artillery, they can target Russian supply lines and disrupt their logistical chains. On the other hand, Russian forces are attempting to adapt by increasing their use of kamikaze drones and electronic warfare to counter Ukraine's technological edge. The intensified combat near Pokrovsk is more than just a local battle. It is a reflection of the broader geopolitical struggle between the West and Russia. The continued flow of U.S. military aid demonstrates the West's commitment to ensuring Ukraine remains resilient against Russian aggression. However, it also risks further escalating tensions between NATO and Moscow. Russia has already issued warnings about the consequences of continued Western support for Ukraine. Moscow has threatened retaliatory actions, including potential strikes on supply routes and logistical hubs outside of Ukraine's borders. The Kremlin views the increasing involvement of NATO countries as a direct threat to its strategic objectives, further fueling the narrative of a new Cold War. For Ukraine, maintaining international support is crucial. The war effort heavily depends on sustained aid from allies, and any disruptions in supply chains could weaken their defensive capabilities. As the conflict drags on, the challenge for Ukraine will be to keep Western partners engaged and ensure that the flow of weapons and ammunition remains uninterrupted. Looking ahead, the battle near Pokrovsk is likely to intensify as both sides seek to gain the upper hand. Ukraine will continue leveraging Western-supplied weapons to repel Russian offensives and target critical infrastructure. At the same time, Russia will likely escalate its attacks in an attempt to wear down Ukrainian defenses and force strategic concessions. One potential development to watch is whether Ukraine will launch a large-scale counteroffensive in the coming months. With improved battlefield intelligence, precision strikes, and enhanced defensive fortifications, Ukrainian forces may attempt to reclaim lost territory and shift the momentum of the war. Additionally, the role of Western allies will be critical. If the United States and NATO continue to supply advanced weapon systems, Ukraine's chances of holding the line and potentially pushing back Russian forces will remain strong. However, any delays or reductions in aid could have severe consequences, potentially allowing Russia to exploit weaknesses and gain ground. The renewed fighting near Pokrovsk is a microcosm of the larger war effort, showcasing the importance of military aid, strategic positioning, and battlefield tactics. As Cold War II unfolds, the struggle for control in this region will be a defining factor in the future trajectory of the conflict. The coming months will be decisive, and the outcome of the battles in Pokrovsk could shape the broader war for years to come. If you found this analysis insightful, make sure to like this video and subscribe to stay updated on the latest developments in Ukraine. Your engagement helps spread the truth about what's happening on the front lines. Also, let me know in the comments. Do you think Western support is enough, or does Ukraine need more to turn the tide? Stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next update.